One of the questions I often get asked is by master's students, if I should go to the US for a one-year degree or if I should do a two-year degree, what's the best option here? Let me provide you a couple of deciding factors so you can come up with the right response for your individual case. Now, there's some obvious advantages. If you're doing a STEM degree and it's a year long, then you only have to do that program for a year of expenditures and you're able to work in the US for a period up to 3 years, which is a great thing. Now, for 2 years, you have that added expense that you have to pay your tuition and your living expenses for a period of 2 years. So your expenses are double the amount. So that's the downside. If your goal is to maximize your chance of getting that OPT and possible H-1B employment, I would say perhaps the two-year degree may bode well from that perspective because you have a little bit more time to get that internship, because your goal is right after your first year is to get that internship, and then you go into the second year because when your OPT starts, you already have some job lined up, and you will because your internship will allow you to get employment during your OPT. Because that's what employers will look to see. Have you had other great work experiences in the US? In your case, you would have. Now, in that year one category, it's a little bit more challenging because you would have had fall semester, spring semester, and in the summer semester you're taking courses because that's how it's jam-packed into 1 year. So you may be able to find an internship, but you have to be persistent with finding it because you may not be able to get to that because you have courseworks. And so you have to be extra diligent with making sure that you get that internship in that summer, your final semester, you get that internship and then you graduate, and hopefully you have now some work experience to rely upon to enable you to get that OPT. One additional factor I will say, I've noticed that more and more students, even if they're doing just a one-year program, they are extending their program by an additional semester. And you can do that if you haven't taken all your courses, or if you really thought about graduation and haven't found that internship yet. You can essentially extend your degree program by a semester. You can even do that by a year if needed. So now, if you realize that this one-year course has become roughly a year and a half. So then, is there truly a big difference between a year and a half long course because you weren't able to find the internship versus a 2-year long course where you know for a fact that your chances are greater because of the more time you're spending? The more time you're spending on campus is truly a blessing because you have access to your professors, research opportunities, teaching opportunities, working on campus. They all come because you have the campus access. Once you graduate, you no longer have access to it because now the relationship that you have with the university is purely administrative, where they're helping you from an OPT standpoint and making sure that you're within status. Again, the answer still depends because it all depends on your financial reach. If you're able to afford a 2-year education, then I would highly recommend the 2-year education. If you can only afford the 1-year education, then that's the answer for it. But just know that right from your day one on being on campus, you have to have the fortitude of mind to ensure that you're working towards getting that internship so you have that OPT that's really secure.